Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Luxent's webinar, Ready, Set, NetSuite, a demonstration of NetSuite ERP. In today's webinar, we will give you a quick introduction to Luxent and NetSuite, followed by a demonstration of NetSuite. And we will close out with NetSuite pricing and packaging. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A panel and we will get to them at the end of the webinar. With that, I would like to introduce you to the Luxent team. Vivian Kina is our president and CEO with 20 plus years of ERP experience, and Ben Katerberg, the director of our NetSuite practice and chief solution architect. Ben comes to us with 10 plus years of ERP experience, and myself, Brooke Geipus, the marketing director here at Luxent. Now let's get started.
Great, thanks, Brooke. You can go to the next slide. Hi, I'm Vivian Kina. I'm the president and CEO of Luxent. Luxent's been around for almost 15 years. 14 years we're celebrating this year. Pretty established partner. We're a premier solution partner. So that means that we do everything from help companies with the selection of NetSuite, ensure they get the right modules and contracts, and then help them through the implementation process, help them with any of their third-party solutions that we help them guide and select them if they need those, and then long-term support, trying to get the most value out of the solution and grow with it. Our team is very deep. We have consultants across the US, and our experience is primarily obviously on the NetSuite solution, but really important on the business processes. So we try to help companies to improve their business and optimize their processes. So we have a lot of deep bench experience with specifically within the food and beverage industry, which is what we're going to be talking about today. We have a development team also. They're Suite Cloud certified, which means we develop on the platform, and we have solutions on the App Exchange. And we focus and have always focused on startups to mid-market. So helping companies in their first ERP to helping companies that might have a legacy solution and are ready to switch and go to the cloud and move to a NetSuite more robust solution. So you can go forward. This is just some of the companies that we've worked with from inception of Luxent. Lots of food and beverage, lots of coffee houses, a lot of them with the same requirements that I hope that probably most of you have on the call today. A lot of the same pain points, and just helping them to guide them in coming and using NetSuite to its fullest. So this might be some names that are familiar to you. With that, I wanted to, I'll be back and talking to you a little bit more on the pricing of NetSuite a little bit later. But with that, I'd like to introduce Ben Katerberg, who is our Chief Solution Architect.
Thanks, Vivian. So a couple things that I just want to share right off the bat when it comes to NetSuite is NetSuite was built on the cloud from the beginning back in the 90s. This was kind of the first cloud company, first cloud ERP, and NetSuite has been working in the cloud ever since. Obviously, with the acquisition from Oracle, we have a very large global reach. NetSuite has customers in 217 countries and territories around the world. And based on the graphic on the right-hand side here, over 36,000 customers worldwide. 6,000 of those customers were just in the last 12 months. So that record growth, we're talking about 20% growth just from the previous year. This slide here, we're just really kind of focused on the different verticalization that NetSuite has set up. You'll notice, obviously, quite a few logos in here that might be familiar for different kinds of companies, but the general structure of these environments that come pre-configured, we know that a lot of food and beverage especially do their own in-house manufacturing or even contract manufacturing, and are also wholesalers as well, and also have retail distribution. So with NetSuite, we can service multiple kind of business verticals within the same platform, which is very, very typical with food and beverage customers. One of the great things about buying NetSuite right on day one is because NetSuite is focused on different business verticals, different industries. NetSuite built tools with hours and hours, thousands and thousands of hours of pre-configuration that are already associated with those different business verticals. So when you buy NetSuite on day one, we already have these pre-configured KPIs, these dashboards, defined roles, recommended roles for your users based on the size of your business as well as the industry vertical. And all of this is just based on what NetSuite calls leading practices, which really is the best way to use NetSuite in food and beverage. Also, too, you'll note the graphic on the right-hand side that looks like a wheel. NetSuite is very modular. So you don't have to buy everything and implement everything on day one. You might start with just your financials. You might bring in financials and supply chain management and inventory. But then a future state, you may want to bring in human resources or stand up a commerce site. And all within kind of this modular nature is the ability to grow and scale through multi-currency, multi-subsidiary management, multi-language, all built on the platform immediately when you buy it and right out of the box on day one. As far as the financial features go in NetSuite, obviously NetSuite was built first and foremost as a financial system. So the finance and accounting functionality, this is all core to NetSuite. Your AR, your AP, your GL, fixed assets management, cash management. But there are lots of other financial features that can be added on if you have more complex billing requirements, let's say. I know a lot of companies are setting up subscriptions where customers can receive, this box of food every month. So there is additional functionality in NetSuite that allows for more complex billing, subscription billing, more advanced revenue management, and all of the financial reports, all of the financials, it's all real-time data. There is no business warehouse. So immediately as you start transacting, you're going to have up-to-date financial reports right then and there. And those financial reports can be plan versus actual and some of your what if analysis, financial modeling. All of that is included here in what we're going to show today. And then as far as some of the ERP features, the full kind of order management suite handling your customer orders, whether they're cash sales or sales orders that flow from EDI partners or commerce sites. It has full kind of supply chain management features, warehouse management. And once again, just because of the modular nature of NetSuite, you might want all of these. You might want just a few of these. And you don't necessarily have to purchase everything on day one. You only have to buy what you're going to use. Now, for the demonstration that I'm about to share here, I just want to kind of give a general process flow of what you should expect to see here in the demonstration. So after we kind of show a general overview of NetSuite, we're going to get into a scenario where we're going to review some planning recommendations that NetSuite comes up with for us. We're going to generate purchase orders and work orders from those recommendations. We'll be receiving inventory and then building work orders, and then we'll be shipping out customer orders. So with that being said, I'm going to share my NetSuite screen here. All right. So what I'm sharing here first, I'm logged in right now under a controller role at the moment. So this controller role, this is the same role that you might get when you purchase NetSuite that was pre-configured. And the first things you'll see here is, one, it's very colorful. You've got a lot of different widgets that are already set up with different reminders on the upper left-hand side. Reminders are typically used like workflows between different departments. So in this case, my controller has a reminder for 5 bills to approve. And all my controller has to do is click on that 5 bills to approve, and it's going to take them to the queue for bill approvals. So I can open up each bill, and then I can determine, yes, let's approve this one, or let's reject this one. Some of the other things you're going to see on here as well. You've got what's called dashboard tiles. These are essentially quick links to be able to navigate to common pages or specific reports. So for instance, I can pull up a balance sheet report, and let's do an income statement report as well. Just a general note, this is all in the cloud. It's on the web. It's got normal web functionality, browser functionality. I can just hold my control button or my shift button if I want to open in a new tab or a new window. And I can have lots and lots and lots of windows open or tabs open at any given time if you are somebody who likes to work on multiple things at once. So here's kind of the out-of-the-box balance sheet report. Obviously, it's structured very similarly to how your balance sheet report might operate. But then we have the ability to do some other financial segmentation, like pivots based on a location, let's say. So maybe I want to look at my balance sheet for just my US subsidiary and then do a pivot based on my location. I can just hit my refresh button, and now it's going to reformat my balance sheet based on my column pivot that I selected here. And then even beyond here, I can continue to customize and add additional filters. Maybe I just want to only see one particular location at a time, and maybe the balance sheet based on specific departments of my financial segments. And then the other thing I can do on any one of these reports is on my bottom right-hand side, I have the ability to generate graphs, graphical displays, fully roll up or fully roll down all of my summarization accounts. I can click on my export options, so I can easily just click one button and I will have this balance sheet report in Excel. Same thing with PDF, CSV. I can export it as a Word document. I can print it. And one of the other cool things I can do is I can set it up to run on a schedule. So here I can specify a recipient and copying other recipients. So I can include my whole, finance team and have this run based on a schedule. I can say run it more than once, run it weekly, every Thursday with no end date, and run it at this specific time. So 10 p.m., my whole finance team can get a view of my balance sheet report every single Thursday at the end of the day. And I can obviously add attachments, messages, and this report can then be scheduled. And all I have to do is set it up one time, and then everybody gets it all the time. Let's flip over to my income statement here. So my income statement, I can do kind of similar pivots, context filters. So I can say, let's just look at my US subsidiary and let's do a pivot based on product classification. All right, when I pivot here, I can see here are all my sales and costs of goods and expenses associated with no class. And then here's my lemonade. I have this much revenue and shipping income, and here's my cost of goods for my lemonade product classification. So as you can see, very easy to do these quick little pivots, these filters. I do have a customize option here where I can bring in even more fields to add to filters or additional columns to display in my reports. And the other nice thing about the real-time reporting in NetSuite is I can drill into these numbers. So I can see I sold $114 worth of lemonade for this current period. If I drill on to that $114 value, it's going to take me to the detail, and I can see all $114 was made up of this one invoice here. And I can keep going, keep drilling into the numbers all the way into the individual transaction itself. So if something on my financials looks a little off, I can keep researching and drilling into it and take me all the way to the individual transaction to see what happened here. And any of these transactions, they'll have linkages because this is a full ERP. Here's my invoice. The invoice was the financial posting, and I can click directly into the sales order from the invoice because I have all the document linkages. So this is really, really great for audit purposes. I have the ability to easily trace through my financials down to the transaction level. It makes researching any anomalies very, very easy. So that's just a little bit about my controller role here. You'll see also there's kind of some other graphics here. These are report snapshots. So in this case, here's top 25 invoices. I've got a little tiny widget on just my left-hand side, but I can always expand this out and see my full graphic here. So top 25 invoices, Chatterpoint is my largest volume of invoicing. I have some KPIs that are built in here, financial KPIs. And once again, these are all hyperlinks that are in blue, so I can drill into the underlying data here. And then some of these KPIs, you'll see there's, current, previous, this month versus same day last month. I can very easily go to set up this KPI and flip those date ranges that it's looking at. So in this case, it's looking at sales for this month and the same month last fiscal quarter to date. But I can say, let's just look at the rolling year and compare sales for this rolling year to last rolling year. It's very easy to just do a quick little update, save, and then my underlying data immediately will update. I'm going to flip over to one more role here. Let's go our production manager role. So another nice thing about NetSuite with the roles and these dashboards, there's always more than one way to do the same thing in NetSuite. So I have all of these dashboard tiles that might take me to a transaction in NetSuite. So inventory transfer, if I click this, it'll take me to the page where I create new inventory transfers. I can navigate from the center tabs, just kind of hovering over these. If any one of these is a common place I need to go, I can just star it, and then all my starred options become favorites for easy navigation. And then I also have this kind of global search bar at the top. So I'm putting my cursor in this global search bar, and I can say, let's look for a specific SO, sales order 261. And it's going to make recommendations based on at least having a minimum of 3 characters in the search. It may recommend a sales order. It could recommend, even a customer, right? Do a customer ABBOTT, and it'll find my customer here. And so I can navigate to customer records. I can navigate to transactions using my global search. recent transactions that I've gone to, I can hover over my recent transaction option, and it'll take me to something I was just looking at and maybe closed out. And then once again, very different KPIs for my production manager, right? This is more concerned about number of work orders completed, released, what's the value of some of my work orders. Maybe I have late shipped orders, right? I can see currently I have 1,400 late shipped orders. And so I can create other kinds of data queries and KPIs based on late shipments, for instance. I've got a capacity by work center by week. This is if you were to get into more advanced manufacturing in NetSuite. There are capabilities for capacity planning as well. I am seeing in the chat here, is there a way to track inventory by warehouse? Yes, absolutely. So I do have some specific reports where I can run either the inventory value itself or my actual physical quantities of inventory by warehouse. So let me find a quick little report that might satisfy you here. Reports inventory. I have a current inventory snapshot report. And right now, my location is showing for all locations. But then what I can easily do is I can filter and put on a specific location, or the current inventory snapshot report is going to show me this item. I have this quantity in each of these specific locations, kind of as that pivot. So there's kind of the physical inventory reports. The other thing you can do as well, if you're not looking more holistically at a report, is any individual item record. So let's open up my lemonade, for instance. I'm on my item master record. I have full visibility into the inventory detail. So I can see here, I have in Boston, I have 60 on hand and available of this lemonade item. And it's in a good inventory status. If I had this in 5 different locations, I would see it all reflected here on the individual item record itself, or at the kind of summary level of all items, all inventory in that snapshot report.
And we have one more question as well. And this is in reference to the screen you were showing previous to this question. The documents that are attached, are they stored in the cloud?
Yes, very good question. So any document that I attach to any master data attribute or to a transaction, it's all going to be stored in NetSuite's file cabinet that is in the cloud. So in this case, I am on an item master record. I can attach something from my desktop here. And when I go to attach something, it's going to tell me, whoops, where should I store it in the file cabinet in NetSuite? So this is all cloud storage in NetSuite. There's different folders in here. Same thing as navigating to documents, files, and file cabinet. This is all of my folders for cloud storage. So anything that NetSuite stores that is a file will be in the cloud storage file cabinet. So kind of getting into some of our kind of scenario I want to set up here for you, obviously being food and beverage. I'm looking at a finished good that I created here for a 12-ounce bottle of lemonade. So this is the assembly item master record for my lemonade. And I'm just going to open up my current revision. So obviously from the manufacturing perspective, NetSuite has revision control meaning I can have multiple recipes for my lemonade, and that recipe can change over time, and I can track all of those different revisions of that lemonade recipe. And then I can make one and only one kind of the default master, and these revisions can have effectivity dates as well. So I can have a recipe that's effective starting next month, and it'll automatically become the default starting next month when that date hits. So just sharing real high level here, made a very simple recipe for lemonade in a 12-ounce bottle. I've got 3 lemons, 1/10 a pound of sugar, and a 12-ounce bottle, and then 12 ounces of water, right? Very simple bill of material here. So what I want to do is, first I want to validate from a planning perspective, how much lemonade do I expect to sell? And then when planning executes, do I have all of the ingredients that I need at the right time? So I created a demand plan in NetSuite. NetSuite can either calculate a demand plan for you, or you can just manually enter one or import one from third-party software or Excel. But NetSuite does have the ability to auto-generate demand plans for you with kind of a various number of options for how to generate them. The vast majority of those system-generated demand plans are typically looking back at historical periods and trying to project forward. But you can also have the system generate demand plans from things like sales forecasts, for instance, if you're using NetSuite for CRM. So in this case here, I created a demand plan for my 12-ounce bottle of lemonade in the Boston location. It's a weekly demand plan, and I have specific numbers of bottles that I need for each of these weeks, starting next week, the 8th. So I need 240 bottles of lemonade ready to go in 3 days. So what would happen is MRP is going to execute on its own every single night. I don't have to touch it. I just log in the morning, and I want to look at my MRP results. So I'm going to view my results of my lemonade planning definition here. And one of the first things that's going to pop up here for you is actions. These are all hyperlinks. I can add filters if I want to look at very specific product, very specific action types, very specific locations here. But I did set my planning horizon and my planning parameters to be very specific to lemonade in this case. I'm going to click on my 5 actions that the system is recommending for me. And what I can see here is it is recommending a planned purchase order for lemons and a planned purchase order for sugar that I need to release today. And then it's also recommending that I need to create a work order with a date of 10/8, because once again, I need to have 120 bottles of lemonade ready to go by the 8th. And it takes clearly 3 days for me to send a PO to a vendor and actually receive the lemons and sugar. If I ever want to kind of figure out why did MRP come up with these recommendations, I can look from either the supply or the demand perspective. So in this case here, looking at my lemons, it's making that recommendation for a planned PO for the 5th. I can actually peg, why is MRP making that recommendation for me? So here's my planned PO for 400 lemons. I need to buy 400 lemons because I need 360 of them for a planned work order on the 8th. And I need 40 of them for a planned work order on the 15th. And even so, I can drill into this planned work order just to see a little more detail. And I can see here, I need to build 120 bottles of lemonade because I have a demand plan that says so. that's why I need 360 lemons as part of this planned work order. And then the inverse perspective here. I can look at my demand plan itself. So I need 240 bottles on the 8th. And I can see here, this is how MRP plans on making sure I have enough at the right time. So I have 120 already on hand of my bottles of lemonade. And I have a planned work order to fill the other 120. So I have enough for my demand plan. All right, so as a planner, all I really need to do is I can check the boxes here. So I'm going to release the lemons and sugar PO, release that to my procurement team, and then I'm going to release this work order for the 120 bottles of lemonade. For my selected actions. And now I will have triggered in my reminders workflow here. Keep in mind too, I'm in administrator role, so I can see everything, do everything here. But typically in my planner's role, my supply chain manager role, I'm going to have some of these reminders configured that say I have 3 items to order. So I click on my reminder. And based on the planning method, because for instance here, I have my 12-ounce bottle set up with just a simple reorder point. This means that it's independent demand. I am just stocking a certain number of bottles that I want to have on hand all the time. So I've got a stocking level of 1,200. My reorder point is 600. I only have 600. So I triggered my reorder point, and I need to buy 600 more. So there's a simple PO I can just create right there. I'm going to go back to my items to order screen. And then the dependent demand, which was my sugar and lemons that MRP suggested, I'm going to release the POs for my dependent demand. And you'll notice here, I'm using the same vendor for both sugar and lemons. It's going to consolidate for me into one single purchase order because it's the same vendor and the timeline is the same time. All right, so I can either kind of wait for my processing here, or I can just look to see are my POs created. Either one is fine. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit here to show my 2 POs. Here is a purchase order for 25 cases of 24 bottles. I've got my unit prices in there, and this is all ready to go. I can print this out. I can email it to my vendor. There's lots of different options in NetSuite where I can actually communicate this to my vendor. Most commonly, a lot of customers, they might just go into edit mode, check this to be emailed checkbox and save, and it's just going to send it to my vendor directly from NetSuite. In this case, I'm going to pretend that my bottles showed up here at the door and I am receiving them into inventory. If I have NetSuite WMS, I never have to see this screen. I can just use a handheld to scan the barcodes and enter my quantities and my lot numbers, and I'm all set there. In this case here, I'm just showing the screen that you would see in ERP. If there is an expiration date, you can enter it here, and then I can do my lot numbers. So I received all 25 quantity in a good status, and I assigned it a lot number for my bottles. I'll save that. Now on my other purchase order, this is the one that has sugar and lemons on it. I'm going to go ahead and receive this one as well. And both my sugar and my lemons are also lot controlled. So I need to tell the system what lot number I'm assigning to my sugar and to my lemons. So I bought 12 pounds. All 12 pounds, I can enter an expiration date. So 9/30/2024. Give it a lot number. By the way, too, NetSuite does have the capability of auto lot numbering your inventory if you have specific naming conventions. And here is my 8 cases of lemons. These expire 11/1/2023. There's my lot number. All right, so I received all of my raw materials that I need to make my lemonade. The other thing I want to do is I have my assemblies to order. So I did my raw material purchases. I'm going to go to the MRP suggestion that I released for mass creating work orders. So in this case, I'm going to mass create my work orders. In this case, it's just a single work order for 120 bottles of lemonade. Let's submit that. All right, I'm just going to take a quick little shortcut to just pull up my list of work orders here. And now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to build my work order with my raw materials that I have. All right, so work order on top here in a released status. So the inventory I have set up to auto commit my raw material inventory to the work orders when they're in a released status. So I can see here, I need 360 are committed of lemons. I have 12 pounds of sugar, and I have 120 12-ounce bottles all committed to this work order. Note, I made water a non-inventory item. I did associate a small value to it, but I was not making it a lot controlled inventory item like the other raw materials. So here's my released work order. It's already committed material to it. Theoretically, if I triggered my bottle reorder point again, the planning mechanism might suggest additional bottles I need to purchase if those were all committed to my work order before I even used them. So from the inventory management perspective, it's tracking committed inventory and reducing that from what's available from a planning perspective. So on my work order here, I'm going to create the build. And this is where I need to specify how many lemons, how much sugar, and how many bottles I used during production, and what specific lots did I pull from. So we do have a feature here at Luxent that allows us to make suggestions for which lots we should use based on expirations. And it's just a single click button. In this case, I'm not using our Luxent feature at the moment. I'm just selecting from a drop-down the specific lots that I have here available and only picking one lot for each of my lines. So I specified which lots of lemon, sugar, and the water bottles I'm using. And now I need to assign a lot number to the 120 bottles that I just made. Say these expire 9/30/2024. All 120 bottles, and here's my lot number. All right, so I've got everything I needed here. Theoretically, if I had to use a few extra lemons, a little bit more sugar, I can alter these quantities. I just have to make sure that I'm specifying, which lots I was pulling from, because it doesn't always have to be an exact science, right? Sometimes in food and beverage, especially, there's always a little bit less, a little bit more when you're trying to target a specific quantity. And sometimes I end up making 122 bottles instead of 120. I can alter those quantities when I'm completing my assembly build. All right, Brooke, I see there are a couple more questions here. Do you want to read me some questions?
No problem. We have a question. Can you track the lemonade's lot number?
Yes. So one thing I'll show here is I just built 120 more bottles of this lemonade. I had the lemonade master record open here. I'm just going to refresh my browser one more time. I can see here now, I've got 2 different lot numbers worth of inventory in my Boston location. I've got the 60 that were already there of lot number 120, and then I have 120 bottles of this new lot number I just built here. And then one of the very nice features in NetSuite that most food and beverage companies have, the requirement is a lot traceability suite app. So what I can do is specify my location, and here's my lemonade bottle. Let's track my 120 lot number. And what this is going to show me is both forward and backward traceability. So in this case, this is a finished good that I'm looking at. So most likely I'm going to be doing some backward tracing. And then the next thing I can do here as well, while that's loading, is now that I have enough inventory of finished goods, I'm going to pull up my sales order number. Now, theoretically, I can look in my whole queue for the warehouse to see what they can fulfill based on what I currently have. Or I can go directly to a sales order and I can validate they ordered 60. I have all 60 committed and allocated. With supply allocation, theoretically, if I didn't have all of it available, I could still have had 60 allocated, and the source might have been a work order that's due to be complete next week. Right, so supply allocation does allow for me to see here, both on the demand side transactions and the supply side transactions, what is the source of supply or the demand for this particular transaction. So here's my sales order. I'm going to go ahead and ship this customer 60 bottles. And I'm going to specify that they are going to get, I'm going to give them the new one, which is probably not a best practice, right? You want to ship out the ones that are more nearest to expiration, as long as they're still good. In NetSuite, you can track separate kind of picked, packed, and then shipped statuses. I'm just going to fast forward all the way to the shipped status here so that my inventory position is decremented here and I have a financial posting. But then back to the lot traceability. I can see here for this lot number 120 for the bottle. I can see here under component receipts, I theoretically received it when I built the work order. On the production side, right, I can see I built all of 120 on the work order. And I can expand some of these nodes too. So on production, when I expand my water bottle or lemonade bottle here, 12-ounce bottle, I'm able to see the underlying components that were used to make these 120 bottles. So here's the lot numbers for the lemons that I used. Here's the lot number for the sugar. Here's the lot number for the individual bottles. And I have the option of going to the lemons and then seeing, here's all the work orders that I used the lemons on, right? So I can forward and backward trace very easy. And then I can see shipments. Here's the fulfillment section. And I sent out 60 bottles on this sales order for this customer to this delivery address out of my Boston location. And if I sent out the same lot to 50 different customers, here's my full kind of traceability here. All these 50 customers are impacted by this lot of lemonade. And then I'm able to track here, maybe it was some bad lemons, what all finished goods were they used in, and then what finished good locations did they go to for what customers.
We have two more questions here as well, if you are ready for them.
Yep.
All right. Is there any automation in NetSuite to automatically update order confirmations from vendors?
As far as order confirmations, if you're using what's called a vendor center in NetSuite, theoretically, the vendor has control over that. But that's essentially you're giving login access to a vendor, which is completely free, by the way, the vendor center. But outside of that, you might have EDI transactions, EDI with your vendors. So some of our clients have EDI connections with the vendors themselves, where they can actually send the acknowledgments and the dates and those update expected receipt dates on those purchase order lines.
Great. And the final question here is, we plan production 2 weeks out. Is there a report that would show item shortages to meet the production requirements?
Yes, there's a couple different reports. One, MRP is going to show you that first and foremost on the workbench. So even if the demand is late, it's still going to show up, and there will be an exception in the MRP workbench that says this work order is going to be late due to a delay, and this raw material not being here yet. But there also is back order reports as well in NetSuite. So here is one back order report. And the nice thing about the back order reports, it's going to show all sources of demand. So here's some assemblies. Let me filter based on a location here. Let's just do Boston, because apparently I have a lot of back order in this environment. Right, but here I can see I have so many ordered on this sales order, and none of it's been fulfilled. It's all back ordered for this one material. So I can summarize and say I need 653 of this assembly, or I can drill into the details and see the individual transactions. So this is just kind of one example of a back order report. But you'll see here a back order report can include both things on back order for a customer as well as raw material back orders when raw materials needed on work orders. So that's just a real simple, easy report here to see that back order information. But once again, MRP also is going to be showing you this. So when MRP runs every single night and your planner looks at the workbench, they're going to be able to see where those shortages are. If they're already past due, it'll show up as an exception. Otherwise, it's going to make the recommendations for planned purchases to be able to get there on time for those work order start dates. All right. Well, that is all I was planning on sharing for the demo. I'll pass it back over to Brooke and Vivian here to close us out.
Great. Thanks, Ben. That was an awesome demo. I thought you did a good job. Thanks for all the questions there. You can go to the next slide. We're almost done here. So working with a partner like Luxent versus the direct team, I really feel like working with a partner gives you that industry experience. We've been doing this a long time. We can help you with your business processes, which we do first, and try to get those optimized and cleaned up and try to introduce you to some best practices for the industry. And then we try to make sure you get the right software. So not more than you need when you need it. And try to give you, whatever integrations you need. We're there to support you on the integration side. So we're really going to try to be your trusted partner for all of your ERP needs. And then have that long-term relationship. So work with you from making sure you get the right software, making sure you get the right aggressive discount and contract, and then working with you to get a successful implementation, have that continuity with your team, build a strong relationship, and then help you guys grow as you move forward. It's a different experience. A lot of companies come to us at the beginning, and then a lot of companies find us after they've had a bad experience or not the right experience for them, and then come and find Luxent. So hopefully you'll consider us. We can have an add-on demo to this, and you can call us, and we'll be happy to have a one-on-one conversation with any of you. Okay, you can go forward. When to buy. Companies buy at all different times. So from startup to, you're on QuickBooks and you're needing better management, better planning, more visibility. At different times, you don't want to hire additional resources. Resources get expensive. The cost of NetSuite is very justifiable by just looking at the automation that it can introduce, the minimization of you minimizing the manual effort, the accuracy that it brings to your business. Just your legacy solution is limited and expensive. You're preparing for growth. I've seen a lot of companies where they're not ready for that growth that is happening, and they're not able to support the growth. You're expanding internationally. NetSuite can support you on all of those different types of needs. You can go forward. So how much does it cost? We'll go through the pricing very, very quickly. Like Ben said at the beginning, it's modularized. So you only have to buy what you need. If you want to just start with the financials, you can get the financials. If you want to extend out and do some planning and scheduling, we can add on those modules. There's packages that fit for a startup. So someone that is like under 10 users to someone who maybe is a little larger than that, mid-market in the 30 user range. And then those companies that are larger than 30 users. If you have limited users, if you have users that maybe are doing just one function, that are just looking for view needs or you have distributors or you have vendors that want to have some visibility, NetSuite has the capability to do that, and they're not a full user. So there's different ways that we can configure it. NetSuite doesn't lose on price. So we can be aggressive on the discounting. We can ensure that you get the right configuration. And the user price is starting for users at $120, but that's just the price that, obviously that's without discounting. If you have any additional questions, we'd be happy to answer. Set up a call with us, send us an email, and we do a follow-up call with you individually. So thank you for your time.